We are back. Wow, we know how to empty a room, don't we? Okay. We now come to the good of the cause for the public. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of providing an opportunity to the public to express themselves on school-related matters of concern to the residents of East Brunswick. To allow for a fair and orderly public comment period in accordance with Board Bylaw Number 0167, individual comments are limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public are reminded that this is a public televised meeting of the Board of Education. To protect the privacy of all students and staff, concerns regarding individual students and staff members should generally be addressed by first meeting with the appropriate administrative staff. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Well, seeing none, I close the public portion. I would like a motion to move agenda items F through M.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Cohen, second by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion?
Yes.
Was that a yes?
That's
That
right.
was a yes. Dr. Cohen.
I was going to ask that we either separate out or just discuss two specific items so that the public has some clarification on what I believe are two important issues.
Well, do you want to separate or discuss?
Let's just discuss.
We'll discuss.
Discuss. H2, Aramark, a contract for custodial services that totals about about $1 million. I was just hoping that you can give some clarification on that contract and the reason why we've moved with Aramark and our satisfaction so far.
So this is a bid renewal going into the third year of the contract. I think the district is very pleased with Aramark's performance on the custodial side. You know, we constantly get reminders and compliments on how the schools are looking in their performance. The result of the renewal is a 0.5% increase over the current year, so it's a very small increase. And, you know, Dr. Valesky, I think, agrees that they have performed up to standards.
Yeah, I would like to add that Aramark has provided the training that our staff need to do the appropriate cleaning. And we're looking at really new types of cleaning methodologies and new types of products that are safer for our staff members. And they do a fantastic job. We do get compliments all the time.
Okay, thank you. I just also wanted to add that and sort of clarify to the public that in doing this contract with Aramark, it was our goal to keep as many of the staff that we have working for us as possible, and we only outsourced the management services, but the bulk of the department, unless I'm incorrect, is made up of people that have always been our staff.
It is a blended staff. District staff work the day shifts, and we have the nighttime custodial or Aramark employees, so,
Great.
which was the same makeup in the previous contract before Aramark.
Okay, and the other item that I wanted to ask about or have you comment on is H7, which is the shared service agreement that we have with the township. Right now, there's an proposed tax increase for at the municipal level of 13 cents, and part of that increase is being attributed to debt service, of which the largest portion is the shared service agreements that we have with the school, with the township. And I just wanted to make sure that for those folks that are reading that in the newspapers or in the press, that they understand, if I'm not mistaken, that even though that might be a line item on the municipal side as an expense, the payment of that note is being made by the schools.
Correct.
So,
Go ahead, Jeff.
yeah, we've entered into a number of interlocal service agreements with the township. It's cost-effective on both ends. It saves the taxpayers money overall. It's in our budget as an expense. We pay that payment over to the township, they receive it as a revenue, and make the payment to their debt service provider. So it's an in and out on their end. It's not a double taxation or anything like that.
Okay, just wanted to make it clear to the public how that works. So I appreciate your making that clear for us.
Any other discussion, comments? Mrs. Shaw?
I have a question regarding the certificated personnel from page 1. We have position change listed for 2 of our student assistance specialists, and I'm trying to figure out what position are they changing from and going to?
I'm going to ask Danny Ruggiero or Mr. Ruggiero to comment on that.
It's a long walk.
I believe that one of them is Sarah Ennis,
Yes.
who is an outstanding special education teacher at one of our schools, Central, and she has received her school social work certificate, and we are so pleased to offer her this opportunity. And I wish I could tell you from
So she
memory
will
who
be
the other one
going
is.
from student assistant specialist to social worker?
She's actually going from a special education teacher to student assistance,
oh,
10-month,
okay.
it's 10-month position
Very good.
for a retiree. And the other person, yes, Erin Kottelnicki is a wonderful counselor at Hammersholt, 12-month position, school counselor. And when you hold school counseling certificate, you can also serve as student assistant specialist. That position can be held by someone with a school psychologist, school social worker, or school counseling certificate. And Erin has expressed interest in going down to the elementary level and providing counseling services there. So we're really lucky that 2 experienced staff members have risen to the occasion for these positions because they're so vital in our elementary schools.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I did have one further question
Okay.
about transportation. We had bids where certain runs were, where the bids were accepted, but all of them were rejected for single routes. And do we know why they didn't meet the needs of our
Sure.
bid specs?
So we went out with a total redo or new bids for all of our routes. The packages are, we used to refer to them as tiered routes, where we have 3 or 4 routes into one package.
Right.
Those results came back within budget, so we're awarding those. The single routes were over budget, so we're going to go back to work and go back out to bid and see if we can get some better results.
And I also noticed when I was taking a look at the different prices that came in for the bids, that some of the companies actually come in with bids that are twice as high as some of the other companies.
Sure. You know, I can't say why,
Me
that's why
either.
we bid, and, it's a closed bid, and we open up and we find out where each company is. It could just be based off of they have available buses, there's many factors, so,
Okay.
sorry, I can't, I wish I knew too, because we would definitely drive it to the
There you
lower.
go.
So it's an, open process, though.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Phillipson?
H1, this is also related to the bid process, going toward roadway improvements. I know it's a rare occasion that we have a bid rejection. Could you possibly tell us, is that why we rejected this bid, for being so high?
No, this was not rejected for being high. It was rejected because none of the bidders complied with the law. There are certain mandatory requirements in bid documents that are non-waivable material defects. And each one of these bidders had material non-waivable defects, and under the law, we cannot accept those bids. They must be rejected and rebid. One, for example, there's just to give you an idea, every bid must be accompanied by a certificate that the company does not do business with Iran. That's a law. They submitted the document, but they didn't sign it or indicate that they didn't do business with Iran. So that has to be rejected, not waivable. And this is all based on case law. So what we'll do here is just rebid it. It's budgeted, these weren't over budget. It was more of, they didn't pay attention and dot their i's and cross their t's when they submitted the bid packages.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker,
Yes.
Dr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax,
Yes.
Mr. Philipcheck,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes, with the exception of I-2, on which I abstain.
Okay. Carries.
Motion carried. Next item is any committee reports or information items from the board. Mrs. Shaw.
The subcommittee on school logistics met this past Monday evening. This was our third meeting, and we were really just trying to tie together some loose ends after spending the first two meetings not only discussing the various issues that were raised by the community during our, I believe that was January 26th community meeting. So anyway, we prioritized them and placed them, along a timeline of things we'd like to see done immediately and other things that can be placed as part of our, semi-long-range planning of 3 to 5 years.
Dr. Cohen, I believe most of the
I
subcommittees?
think we only have about 2 or 3 left to go, but we're pretty much following the timeline, and I believe very strongly that we should have most of those in by the end of the year, and I think over the summer, the goal is to try to compile them so that there could be a true action plan on every one of those committees that could start to be implemented by the new school year.
And Dr. Valesky, if you would just then tell us the next step?
Well, as Dr. Cohen indicated, we're going to take the information we're going to take and condense that into a spreadsheet for each of the 6 committees, the subcommittees, and then we're going to have the committee chairs sign off on the priorities. We're going to publicize that on the website with an action plan and timeline. And some of those items, in fact, a lot of the items that have been identified by each of the subcommittees are already in process. And so we're either working on investigation or we're moving along toward a solution for some of the items that the community identified. In speaking with Dr. Cohen and some of the subcommittees that met last week, the suggestion would be maybe on a 2-year cycle, we would reconvene the entire public and recreate the Hammersholt event to do a kind of a check-in and see if concerns that we hadn't addressed have arisen over the last 2 years, or if people are either happy or not satisfied with the progress we're making.
I think it's a great idea. That's a really great idea. Perhaps at either the last meeting of the summer before school opens or the first meeting after school opens, if you could highlight for us exactly what came out of the subcommittees that is going to be in place for the 2016-2017 year.
I will.
Okay, thank
And I
you.
do have to, I have to clarify something. Karen and Kim in the office, who actually took all of the Post-it notes from Hammersholt and created the document all the subcommittees saw and put the trends in, I believe there were closer to 1,800 entries from Hammersholt alone that night. We were thinking there were about 1,500. They went back and recalculated. There were nearly 1,800. And then we had almost 500, I think, from the website. So we had significantly more input than we thought we had from the original, but, so.
Sounds like there was also a lot of work for Karen and Kim, so we thank you very much.
I did not go near them when they were doing the recreation of the Post-it notes.
Good idea.
stayed-
There are
I s-
pictures of them, though,
They're, yeah.
Pouring over
Very
them.
methodical.
and dealing them out to various places.
They had a plan and they took care of it.
Yes.
I think that the overwhelming take-home message from all of that is that what the township and parents and students and staff say does matter to us, and we
Oh,
take
yeah.
it all into consideration, and it's a huge part of what this entire document's going to show, and just takes us back to being involved, and it is it's an intersection of the families, the staff, and the students themselves that makes us the district that we are, and we have to constantly revisit that because things change. We live in a world where things change.
Even if a specific initiative or a suggestion from a community member or a student or staff wasn't specifically implemented, collectively, it made us really think and question almost everything we're doing in the district, which we need to do constantly. So good job, everyone, subcommittee work. Any other committee reports, information items from the board? Then it is time.
thank you.
Oh, I was just going to get to her. I had a whole introduction. I didn't be reminded.
She raised her hand, I'm sorry.
Okay. Now it is time to hear from our brand-new student representative, Ruthie. We welcome you, and we look forward to a great school year with you, hearing all about what's going on.
I do too. So as the school year ends, all the students are really excited for summer. However, even at this time, East Brunswick High School is still heading full steam towards activities and events. All of us students started preparing for our exams, which started today and will be ending on June 14th. Many of the seniors have also had the opportunity to be exempt from their finals, and they're very excited about it. The clubs of East Brunswick High School have prepared their new exec boards for the new year. And I believe student council and class council are also on their final decisions for the exec board. Today, student council hosted a faculty tea for the staff in East Brunswick High School to show their appreciation for their teachers and their staff members and all the work that they do. And as it comes toward the end of the year, seniors are getting really excited. So they had a senior send-off on Tuesday, June 7th, where many of the seniors enjoyed music, food, each other's company, games, and they got to meet with their staff for a couple of final moments and cherish those moments. And also on Monday, June 6th, I was able to help around during senior awards, and I was also fortunate enough to attend the ceremony, and I saw many of my peers and many of my senior friends receiving Presidential Excellence Awards and awards from the East Brunswick Rescue Squad. So on behalf of the East Brunswick student body, we just want to congratulate our seniors and wish them a good year ahead.
Thank you. Outstanding first report. The good of the cause for the board. Well, this being the last official board meeting of the school year, I just want to thank our staff, administrators, and staff in the entire district. It is amazing how well this place runs. Dare I say you could all run it without us? Probably. Another wonderful year, a lot of hurdles, a lot of accomplishments, and we have all of you in the who work for the district to thank for it. If there's nothing else, we do have a need for a closed session. So I'd like a motion for the following. Whereas the Board of Education must discuss matters which are not appropriate for discussion in a public meeting, and whereas these subjects are within the exceptions to the Open Public Meetings Act and are permitted to be discussed in closed session pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12B, and whereas the Board of Education intends to discuss matters as follows. Any matter which by provision of federal law or state statute or rule of court shall be rendered confidential or excluded from the provisions of subsection A of public meetings, the nature of the matter described as specifically as possible without undermining the need for confidentiality is HIB case number HMS 1516.059. And any pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiation other than in subsection B in which the public body is or may become a party. Any matters falling within the attorney-client privilege to the extent that confidentiality is required in order for the attorney to exercise his ethical duties as a lawyer. The nature of the matter described as specifically as possible without undermining the need for confidentiality is legal updates. And any matter involving the employment, appointment, termination of employment, terms and conditions of employment, evaluation of the performance of, promotion, or discipline of any specific prospective public officer or employee or current public officer or employee, employed or appointed by the public body, unless all individual employees or appointees whose rights could be adversely affected request in writing that such matter or matters be discussed at a public meeting. The nature of the matter described as specifically as possible without undermining the need for confidentiality is employee numbers 19251 and 20522. The length of the closed session is estimated to be 30 minutes, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and may proceed with business where formal action may be taken. Now therefore be it resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Education will recess into closed session for only the aforesaid subjects. And be it further resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Education hereby declares that its discussion of the aforesaid subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or governmental interest being protected from disclosure in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Cohen, second by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.